Today we are going to be talking about circles.
Yay!
So, tell me something that you already know about circles.
They're round.
They're round. Good. Anything else? Do they have corners?
No corners.
No corners. Do they have sides like squares do?
No.
Not really. Can anyone find any circles around the room?
There's a circle on that lamp up there.
Where is that?
Right under where like the middle of the
Oh,
center.
okay. Yeah, there's a circle. Good. Anybody else? The window is kind of a half circle, if you can imagine what it would be like if there was another window attached to the bottom of it. So, I know that you all know what circles are, but we're going to learn about some parts of circles, specifically the lines that make up a circle. So, we are going to read a book called Circumference and the First Round Table. And if this goes too long, we'll just cut the tape. Long ago, in the land known as Camelot, there lived many knights and ladies. Their ruler was a mighty but gracious man named King Arthur. During many years of peace and good harvest, the people lived happily. The trouble began when they saw the army of their neighbors to the north gathering at the border. These people, known as the circumscribers, looked as if they might be preparing to make war. King Arthur called upon his greatest and most trusted knights to plan what to do. The knights rode as fast as they could to the king's castle. Circumference lived nearby, so his family came with him. Circumference was married to Lady Di, who came from the town of Amateur. They had a young son named Radius. Radius was very small and quite young, but his keen mind and boundless energy more than made up for what he lacked in height and age. Can you see the pictures? Okay. After the first day of meetings with all the king's knights, Circumference sat with Lady Di. "Oh," he groaned, "my throat hurts. I have to shout to be heard at the other end of that long rectangular table. Everyone has to shout, and the king is very..." "Why don't you fix the table?" suggested Lady Di. "How can we do that?" Circumference asked. "Well," said Lady Di, "you could cut it in half. Look, here's the drawing of the table. It has 2 long sides and 2 short sides. If you cut it in half and put 2 halves side by side, you will have a table with 4 equal sides." So it's that shape, if it has 2 long sides and 2 short sides. What is that?
Rectangle.
A rectangle, good. "Lady Di, what a good idea." Circumference called for the carpenter, Geo of Metri. Geo began work immediately. The next day, the new table was ready. Everyone commented on the wonderful square shape. However, another problem arose. At each corner of the table, the knights whispered to each other while someone else was talking. Sir Galahad exclaimed, "King Arthur, how can we meet to discuss a solution when people talk secretly to each other?" "Sir Galahad is correct," King Arthur responded. "We have come here to talk of defending our land against the circumscribers, not to talk in secrecy." After the meeting, King Arthur told Circumference the new table was needed. That night, Circumference told Lady Di about the problems with the square table. Lady Di thought a moment and then said, "What if we cut the square table diagonally? We could put the 2 halves together to make a diamond." She drew a diagram and said, "The king could sit at one end and you could sit at the opposite end. Everyone would be close enough to hear, but the knights would not be in any tight corners." After seeing the plan, Circumference agreed that it was a great idea. Geo, the carpenter, said, "In carpentry class, they call this shape a parallelogram. Have you seen those before?" "I will have the table ready by tomorrow." After talking to King Arthur, Circumference returned home discouraged once again. Radius piped up. "Father, when I have a problem I cannot solve, I do something else for a while. Why don't we go for a ride?" That afternoon, Circumference, Radius, and Lady Di went riding. No one said much until Radius shouted, "Father, look, a tree has fallen over." "So it has," observed the knight. "Don't you see, Father? There's your table." Lady Di got off her horse for a closer look. She stood on her tiptoes and stretched her arm up as high as it could go. Her fingertips just met the upper edge of the trunk. "It should be big enough," she said. "This part is as tall as I can reach, and the wood seems to be of good quality." Circumference summoned Geo to cut a cross-section of the trunk and make it into a tabletop. "Leave the bark on the outside edge," he told Geo. "I like its rough feel." Geo and his helpers sawed through the huge tree trunk, and they hoisted the heavy slab into an ox cart, and off they went to Geo's workshop. Geo worked all night building the new table. When the knights met the next day, the table was finished. Everyone was content. No one shouted or whispered, no one felt cornered or slapped. No one was poked in the stomach, and no one felt squished. Everyone had an equal position around the table. As they talked, they decided the best plan was to try to make peace with their neighbors. King Arthur was so pleased that he announced they would celebrate that night. Soon, everyone was enjoying the music, dancing, and banquet. Suddenly, the music stopped. A messenger rushed in and handed a sealed parchment to King Arthur. The king read it and smiled. "Ladies, knights, and guests, I have excellent news. The circumscribers are not planning an attack. They want only to measure the area of the kingdom. There will be peace in the land." Hooray! Everyone cheered till the king held up his hand for silence. "To honor these knights who have gathered at this table to save our kingdom, let them henceforth be known as the Knights of the Round Table. Let us thank Sir Cumference and Lady Di and their son Radius. They made this round table possible." Everyone cheered again. "Furthermore, because Lady Di of Ameter has a reach that is equal to the distance across the table, we will name this measurement for her. We will call it the diameter." "I am proud of Radius, too," said King Arthur. "Someday he will become a fine knight. He may be small, but he has tall ideas." Everyone nodded and smiled. "Let us call this small measurement from the center of the circle to its edge the radius." Finally, let us not forget our clever Sir Cumference. Since it was his idea to leave the bark on the outside edge of our table, we will name the outside edge of the circle after him. Let us call it the circumference. Sir Cumference bowed to the king as everyone rose from their seats and began cheering and whistling and stomping their feet. It was the happiest celebration that anyone could remember. That was way longer than it needed to be. Do you know how long we're at right now?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, we'll just cut some of that. That's fine. Okay, so we talked about the different lines in the circle. Did you catch that at the very end when they were talking about the different people that they were naming parts of the circle for? Do you remember what any of them were?
Diameter.
Diameter, that's right. Do you remember who it was named after?
Lady Di.
Lady Di, that's right. So Lady Di represented the diameter because when she reached up, that was as tall as the whole circle. And then what was someone else that they named after?
Radius.
Radius, that's right, who is the sun, and so he was short. So the radius is just from the center to the end of the circle, to the edge. So it's a line that's kind of half of the circle. It's half of the diameter. And then, do you know the other one?
Circumference.
Circumference, that's right. And that was, what was it? Do you remember?
The
outside edge, yeah. So that's the circumference. And circumference is one of the things that we really want to talk about today because circumference is something that you're going to use later on, like in 4th and 5th and 6th grade. You'll use circumference to be able to tell other things about the circle. So we want to learn a lot about that. So I would like everyone to come over here to the circle that we have. So what do you think that rope on the circle represents?
Circumference.
The circumference, that's right, because that is the outside edge. So do you think there would be a way for us to measure the circumference of that?
We'd have to take it apart.
Take it apart, yeah, that's right. A circumference is just a line, so if we spread it out, then we'll be able to measure it. So does someone want to use, this is a yardstick. Can you measure and see how many inches it is? Oops, sorry. Good job.
36 plus 16.
Okay. Does anybody know what that is?
52.
Yeah. Okay. 52. Good job. Great job, guys. So you had to, I like how you used you used the yardstick, but we didn't have enough of a yardstick, so you just kept it moving now. Good. Okay. Now if everyone can circle up, so everyone hold hands, and we're going to make a circle with our bodies. Great. Yes. Good. Okay. So what are our hands making right now? Our arms and our hands. What line would that be?
Circumference.
The circumference. That's right. This is the outside edge of our circle. Try to be outside. And then if we have someone in the middle holding this rope, how could we make a radius for our circle?
If we
No.
wanted
Do you want to try to be our radius? We'll hold hands and you can try to be radius. What should you do?
I should
Oh, good. Great job. So you're in the middle, and we have a line that goes from the middle to the outside edge, and that's our radius. Nice work. Good job. Okay, how can we make a diameter?
I have to go all the way across. All the way.
You want to try that?
Sure, I'll be
You do the diameter. Good.
there-ish.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So it goes all the way across. That's good. And then could we make that without the rope? Do you think? Would there be a way to make a diameter with just our bodies?
No.
Good. That's good. That's a good idea. Okay, so I will let y'all, you three, get together, and then I'm going to tell you which line to make, and you make it together, okay?
Okay.
So, first I want you to make a circumference. Good. Okay. Radius. Ooh, good. I like it. Very creative. Okay. Circumference. Good. Diameter. Good work. Good work. Radius. Good job. Okay, does someone else want to be it, and they can call something out, and we'll try to make it? Laura, do you want to be?
Sure, I'll be
Okay. Tell us something to
Diameter. Don't wait.
do. Well, okay, good. Good. We have to go all the way across the circle.
Radius.
Okay. Great work. So, we are just going to quickly review what we've talked about. Does anyone have any questions so far about anything we've learned? So, diameter, radius, circumference. Those are the three lines of a circle. So, if I was going to draw my circumference on this, where should I draw it? All the way around. That's right. So, I'll pretend like this is the outside. Okay, so there's my circumference. Then where's the diameter?
Across the middle.
All the way across through the middle. That's right. Good job. Okay, and then what about the radius?
From the middle to the outside.
From the middle to the outside. Good. Great work. Okay, so I want everyone to pick one of these round objects that we have. We have canned food, a CD. You can get another plate if you want. I need you to just trace a round thing on your paper, and then on your own, without looking at your neighbor's paper, just circle or identify. You can draw an arrow to it. Just help me know that you understand what all three of those lines are. Good job. Okay. Great work. Well, the last thing that I want to talk about is, we already talked a little bit about some circles in real life. I mean, we looked around the room and tried to find circles. But I want to talk about the Earth, which isn't really a circle, right? Does anyone know what shape the Earth is?
Sphere.
Yeah, it's a sphere. So it's like a circle, but it's three-dimensional. So it's the ball. And so does anyone know what the circumference of a sphere would look like? I know that's kind of tricky, but
Around the middle.
yeah, it would just be around the middle. So on our Earth, that line around the middle is the circumference, and do you know what it's called?
The equator.
The equator. That's right. So the widest part around is kind of like the belly of the Earth. The line that goes all the way around is the equator. So now we know about circumference in the real world, literally. Does anyone have any other questions? No? Good. Okay. Well, y'all did great. You'll be able to use these concepts later on, and well done.